Hello and welcome to my channel. My name's Jackie. I'm a setter and coach from Toronto. I've been recording my climbing sessions as a way to track my progress and share my climbing journey. My goals are mostly based around outdoor climbing and specifically outdoor bouldering. However, I aim to explore all of the different parts of climbing. I love competition climbing and sport climbing, and I want to experience it all. Today, I'm taking you through a session at Rock Oasis, which is my home gym. I decided to just have a limit climbing session. This was actually a day after I went sport climbing, or at least tried to go sport climbing. It was kind of a disastrous day. I forgot my climbing shoes. I was with my partner who was lead belaying for the second time ever, and it was just us two, so the lead belaying situation wasn't ideal, and the climbs were all wet, all seeping, so it was super sketchy. We ended up leaving the crag after 1 hour. So got a little pumped after one climb, but it was basically a rest day, and so I wanted to get a bit more climbing in on the weekend, so I decided to go to Rock Oasis and start with some Kilter board climbs and see where I was at in terms of my power on the board, because I hadn't board climbed in a few weeks. Wanted to get a little bit of board climbing in, but capped it around an hour and a half because I'm having some issues with my finger and just experimenting with what aggravates it, and it seems like long board sessions do aggravate my finger quite a bit. I finished off with some gym climbing and tried to focus on some more comp style boulders and practice some dynos, because that is a bit of a weakness of mine. Without further ado, let's get into the session. So after I warmed up, I hopped on this climb called Elim Pro as my first V8 Plus climb, and it looked pretty chill from the ground, but then I realized the moves were a lot bigger than I thought. So I ended up having to match this second hold, and I feel like I could have done it without matching, but it would have been a lot harder. So yeah, decided to match, and then I didn't want to match again, but this cross was a little bit much for me right now. I guess I wasn't feeling super snappy with the one arm, so I just decided to match the second last hold as well. And so now we're on Big Texas V9. And this one's a pretty iconic one. I think it's one of the most repeated boulders on the Kilter board. On my first attempt here, making good progress, and then just fall going for the last hold. And I definitely wasted a lot of energy trying to find that blind foot. So now I'm trying the move in isolation, keep kind of undershooting it. So with every attempt, I'm trying to go higher, really kick my leg back and pull as hard as I can. And then on my fifth attempt, so like fourth attempt trying it in ISO, I stick the last hold, and I thought I was going to let go. I thought I was gonna fall off, but somehow I stayed on the hold with just one arm. So that was super surprising and gave me confidence to go from the bottom and try to get the whole thing. Went for the send and kind of just committed to letting go of that right hand crimp and matching the last jug. So that was a really fun one. The next one is 20 kilogram bench press. The beginning moves are not too bad, and I found this heel hook beta online that made the middle sequence a lot easier. So that was clutch, and then the crux, I would say, is the last move for sure. It's kind of this like dyno situation. Little bit of a jump and then pull through to get to the second finish hold. And I didn't get me doing the actual last move in ISO, but I did that before I went for the send go and ended up getting it on my fourth attempt. So as you can see, some of the attempts are weird because either it was a really bad video or I didn't get a video of that attempt, but I kept it in my head. Now I'm working this V11 called Later Alligator. this one is quite long and very tensiony, so by the middle, I'm just kind of tired, and I'm sure like doing a bit of sport climbing, even though it was like not a lot of climbing at all, but I did get pumped. I feel like that probably created a bit of fatigue, and I was tired going into this session, but I was pretty happy. I made some good progress on this one. I saw Magnus Mitbo's video with Alex Magos on the Kilter board, and he did some very different beta than I have seen on later Alligator, where he gets this jug with his right hand and then goes up to the pinch with the left, and that actually worked for me. And you can see I try the move in isolation and I'm able to do it, but it's just super hard to put everything together and do it when you're tired from that really tensiony beginning sequence. I give it a few more goes and managed to make some progress and get a little bit higher every attempt, but on my last go, I am just super tired and don't feel like I have the power endurance for another attempt. There's a lot of foot matching and tricky foot sequence, so I have to be as efficient as possible when executing these moves. So I'm really excited to go back to it with some more energy and see if I can put it all together. So after later Alligator, I decided to move on to some gym climbing. It had been about an hour and a half, so I decided my second half of the session would be devoted to more comp style climbing. And I started off with this red tape, which is about a V6. It's a little bit of a lateral dyno, kind of running across a volume that's quite positive, but it's very precise. Like, you have to be accurate about where your foot ends up and where your hand ends up. You really want it to be in that jug. On my 7th attempt, I ended up getting my hand in the jug properly, hitting the foot, and finishing the climb. The rest was pretty straightforward to me. And then I'm trying this black tape, which I would say is around V8. I was pretty confused by this beginning sequence, didn't really know what to do. I thought that maybe this sloper would be better than it is, and it was not good. I lost balance. I tried to sort of match and start to stand on this left volume, but that didn't work at all. Just really hard to find stability. So I ended up jumping for the next one, and that felt like that could be the beta. And then on my 4th attempt, I made some progress, and I realized that, yeah, this is definitely the beta. So I decided to try the rest to make sure that I don't mess up the ending. These slopers are slopers. They felt really slick, especially in the condies of the gym right now. The condies are super bad. I think it was probably in the high 20s during my session, but we had the fans blasting, so we made the best of it. I tried it in ISO a second time, and it was really close. I just kind of undershot the last hold, but I knew that if I went from the beginning and stuck that dyno, then I would just commit 100%, and I was pretty sure I would do the whole boulder. Really quite struggling through this slopey section, trying to stay super low in my hips, low on the slopers as well, get as much friction as possible. And at this point I was pretty tired, but I was happy to just make the match push through. And now the last climb of our session is this black tape, which I would grade around V7 to 8 for me. And this is kind of a Morpho move. This is actually my set, and I didn't send the first move in forerunning. We got pretty close to sticking it, so we kind of thought, okay, it goes, but what we didn't realize was that it is way easier if you're taller. And it was kind of frustrating to watch people do this move so easily. I'm 5'1.5", so these kind of moves are really tricky for me. I just can't get over this palm enough and get high enough on this jug. And the jug is obviously not very good at the bottom where I'm hitting. It gets good near the middle and top, but it's really hard to generate enough height just from jumping. I tried the top in ISO, and definitely not a gimme. You have to be really careful through that sequence and make sure that your body positions are right, or else you'll definitely fall off. On my 13th attempt, making micro progress, learning a little bit with every attempt. I was really trying to focus on getting over this palm and kind of shifting my focus to see what would get me the furthest. But I just kept thinking I had to get over the palm because I had tried a similar move to this in the past and wasn't successful at it. But the advice that I was given was to try to focus on the palm and getting over the palm. But that just wasn't really working for me. I wasn't really consistently getting higher. And when I would get into the next hold, it was just in the very bottom and I was almost like jamming my fingers. Attempt 21, I got really close, and this is because one of my friends told me to focus on the jug instead and see if that helps, because that helped him. He acknowledged that he was taller than me, but he thought maybe it could help, and it did. It helped me get way higher, focusing on the target hand, like the target jug, and then letting my hand hit the palm and just trusting that it would find it there. And eventually, yeah, I did hit the jug and was able to get through the end and send the boulder. So I was super happy to finish my session with that send. I felt really relieved, and I was definitely running overtime. I was going to only climb on gym boulders for an hour, but I ended up climbing on the gym boulders for over an hour and a half, and a big chunk of it was on this purple one. But it was super fun to work on, and I learned a lot. Something that helps me deal with morpho moves like this as a shorter climber is just remembering that climbing is inherently morpho. Every climbing move, every climb is going to fit a certain body the best. Like, there is a ideal body for every move, and a lot of moves are going to fit your body. So it's not like being short is worse than being tall or vice versa. There's just pros and cons to both being tall and being short. And I really try to remind myself of that when I'm working on moves like this, or if I'm at a gym and all of the climbs feel quite morpho. Try to remember that this is a good opportunity for me to get creative and find my own beta, because oftentimes there's some hidden beta that will work for my body. And also remember that it is just one climb, it's just one gym, it's just one session, and it doesn't define me as a climber. It doesn't really matter in the long run. And remembering that there are millions of boulders out there, and there's going to be tons that fit your box, and there's also going to be a lot that don't fit your box. And also, as shorter climbers, we need to be way more powerful. A lot of the times, it's not really a reach issue, but maybe it's a technical issue or a lack of power. So trying not to blame your height from the get-go when you're not able to span a move initially. It can be really helpful to feel the end position, and sometimes you'll find that you can span that position or that move. So something that I'm working on in my sessions recently is getting more comfortable climbing big move boulders, which is something that my partner Ben is really talented at. He's 5'6", so on the shorter end for a guy. And On a lot of the harder board climbs, he is just fully extended, but he can move really well in those positions. So that's one of my goals. I want to get better just being fully spanned out because a lot of boulders are going to require me to do that. Yeah, okay. I've been rambling, so I hope that this episode was enjoyable. And if you have any feedback or you have something to share, leave it in the comment section. See you in the next one.